Welcome. My name's Moonlight Mystic, and symbolism of birds of the vision that I want to begin to start to build within the heart, within the energy, within the consciousness, and within the spiritual realm. We connect through a process where there is a call and there is a respond. There is an echo. Understand that when we are transmitting, we are releasing energetic patterns of both consciousness and of energy that are connected to that. When we pray, we are offering up the self, and when we recognize that a lot of our dynamic and our soul energy and our heart transmission, we need to be able to come into that within ourselves. That is to reconnect to our spirit. Birds take flight is an expression that is reflecting the evolution of heart energy. And we are, as it were, coming into a greater discovery, of the reality of who and what we are and the power that we hold. When we hold a perspective in that, then we reflect that to the world, reflected or transmitted through your interaction with the world, with other people. Those principles begin to spiritual principles begin to develop forward movement, not just forward movement, but the rising. And so when we look at birds take flight, we need to look metaphorically. Wings represent the ability to fly, and flight is what happens when our heart enters the balanced state and of trust and of acceptance. And so, and when we enter the state of balance and trust and acceptance, then we are connecting to spirit, and spirit, spirit is has a symbol and a metaphor to the bird. The birds take flight is talking about the heart energy, recognizing its connection to spirit, that we are here to transmit that highest perspective and the highest transmission. And so birds take flight is recognizing that, yes, we are a spirit having a human experience, and the human experience doesn't need to restrict us or cause us to be locked into paradigms that cause us to fear and to resist and to judge according to the reality that is being presented. Instead, we can begin to detach from the illusions, and not just from the illusions that have been created in the shadow world, but the illusions that we have convinced ourselves of, the illusionary self. And this self has been built into the perspective of who we believe we are, through fear and through resistances to things, and judgments. And so it is a very delicate composition. It is a very delicate composition. Our connections, that we are to move into this understanding that we are mind, body, spirit, and soul. We are soul energy, but it is the spirit that is the directive of that soul energy. And we've lived under the shadow. And so we are coming out of the shadows. When we begin to come out of the shadows, we begin to connect more with Earth Mother. And we recognize that she is the vibrant, sentient light being. And that when we can begin to connect fully to our nature and to the nature of the earth, then that is when spirit allows us to take flight. That's where we soar. Where do we fall? We fall in the mud. We fall amongst that part of our experience when we are tested for everything that is in us. Life comes to test us, not to cause us to suffer, but to test us, so that everything is tested within us, so that we can rise to our greatest potential and to some of our greater heights, in terms of our life and our expression and our transmission and our soul energy and our heart connection amongst us soul. We are finding the heart of the collective. When we find the principle of our spirit, what are the spiritual principles by which we live? For these spiritual principles are the principles that shall allow for us to live in connection to our heart. Okay, that's religion is something man has made. Okay, and I'm not saying religion is bad. Some people need that structure to work with, but when the structure is more in control than the spirit, then that's an imbalance. And that's an imbalance that all of us collectively need to bring back. We need to bring back the balance. We are here to restore the balance and to restore the trust. We are here to remember that we are one, that we are a collective heart that has a collective mission to take flight. As a unified synergetic transmission, which means that the heart energy and the consciousness of the people fuses together. And that can only happen when we are focused in, until we are able to rise. And what is that synonym of thing? And rise. When we face everything and rise, that puts us in the stronger position. But the thing is that fear doesn't present that way. And so that is a form of fear. And so are we afraid of fear? Of the fear? When we can drop the fear of what it is that we perceive has all the power, and we can move into acceptance of the self. Then we move into acceptance of our power, acceptance of the spirit that we are, acceptance, you know, what perspective you hold. It doesn't matter. Acceptance is given to all perspectives. The connection is going in and out, in and out. I don't know why. Technical blips. So when we find the reflection of the collective self in the common unity of the spiritual principle, we will have found our power, because power is not the model that has been represented in our governing mind. That is not power. Power is empowerment. Okay, empowerment from the acceptance of the collective's perspective, and when we bring those perspectives together, it's not a good connection. Okay, I think we're back. When we can bring the perspective together, can find the common ground, we will have found the place to stand. When there is a situation where we cannot find a place to stand, and finding the vision that finds the common ground. In that common ground, we build the common unity of the spiritual principles. We build that. We are the house. We are the heart. We are the vision. Something that is greater than ourselves, and that is the power of love, because love is a concept that has been abused, and love is actually a very powerful light force energy. Love, because in order to master love, one must accept. We cannot master love except through the acceptance of the shadow self. Love is about acceptance. It is about fight. We are not just in a world of darkness, nor are we just in a world of light. We are in a world of both. And therefore, because of this, we need to be able to respond accordingly. It is the separation consciousness that brings the division of the two, light and darkness, that then creates the judgment and the blame and the fear. Then you know, a lot of what we're facing right now is the covering up of things. Covering up things, and so then we look at ourselves and we go, okay, well, the only way out of this, because we are the reflection of the projection, when we say, oh well, the only way out of this is to allow the heart to be heard, allow the heart to be felt, you know, speak to me, and I will hear you and you will hear me. Okay, and there is too much weight given to the perspectives that are coming through. Are those perspectives creating the vision? Because if the perspectives that are coming from the governing mind are creating a vision that is of control, of potential harm and death and you know, that's not the vision that we want. Okay, we need to draw the next generation, the regeneration of our earth and our land, that considers the spiritual world and the spiritual principle. Okay, this is the vision that we should be focusing upon. If we keep focusing upon the vision that's being projected, then the only way that we approach that is to resist it, get angry, get frustrated, if we're only seeing that, and so we become a reflection of the projection. When the reflection changes, when the spirit rises from the dead, and we reconnect to the heart, and we reconnect to one another, well, where is the support? We are the support. We are the support. And when we find that, then, and we find the vision, then we find the light. We find the light within ourselves, and we find the light within one another. That is the kingdom of heaven. That is the kingdom of God. That is the light that shines in the darkness. It's got nothing to do with what religion needs, and trust to yourself and to others, because that is the greatest shadow that we must overcome. The shadow that causes us to believe in our own fears. The shadow that causes us to pass judgment or cast judgment because we don't actually want to own it. We don't want to own the things that we're meant to own for ourselves. Empowerment is about owning your darkness and your light, and finding the balance between them. We can go heavily into ego and evolve in that soul energy that is selfish and just thinks of the self, but that doesn't change the world. That doesn't empower you. Or we can go into the energy that says, I am so holy, and I'm so self-righteous, actually, and I both reflections of that shadow energy. And when we step into our power, we step into ourselves, and we accept it fully. We can only step into ourselves fully when we step into the acceptance of self fully, and only each one of us can a unique work of your own soul energy evolution. And then on top of that, you are a part of it's just waiting to reconnect to me, and I don't know. There it is. Okay. It's quite distracting when you're not connected. I start to think I'm talking to myself, but actually I'm not. I'm talking to you. But then when it comes through and it says I'm not connected anymore, then I just think, well, what's when I'm not here to talk to just myself? And this applies to me and to my evolution, and it applies to all of us. We are the collective self. We are the collective self. We find our power when we find ourselves in one another, and we recognize that it's all been a performance, a roles and regulations. Actually means they are regulating the consciousness and the energy. These are the regulations. So follow these regulations because we want you to transmit this response to the projection. And so what is it that we need to find? We need to find the right response to the projection. When we find the right response collectively and we reflect that, the projected reality the regulations, and I'm not saying that we don't follow them. I'm just saying that if there is a greater reflection that is happening or being developed within us, then please wait. How much of this is coming through? I don't know. When we realize that regulations are about regulating our energy, regulating our consciousness, and regulating the transmission that we are as a reflect that through vision, that's where the Martin Luther Kings, the Nelson Mandelas, Bob Marley, they found the higher perspective, the higher energetic transmission. When we move into that, when we're not responding from shadow, those are old ways of dealing with things, and we need to come into a more empowered way of dealing with things as the people. And we need to be able to feel the connection of who and what we are as the people, as the collective heart, as that collective energy. We need to know who and what we are so we can bring the transmission, we can bring the reflection, we can bring the spiritual principle, we can bring through the voice, the message, okay, of the world that we want to create. And then it is up to the governing mind to respond to that reflection. Because if we begin to depart from the regulational reflection and transmission of the projected reality, and even though we follow those things in our heart and in our connection and in our energy, we can begin to develop a vision that makes sense to the soul. Okay, let's cast forward a 7-year vision of regeneration to the earth. That's complete natural farming, and diversity. Let's begin to think about the next generation and the things that we want them to learn within schools. Let's begin to think about the spiritual principles by which we live, because we haven't lived by those principles for a long time. And without a vision, the people perish. The vision is the spiritual principles that we are reestablishing within our world, within our transmission, and within our consciousness. We are not mindlessly attached to a governing mind that does not speak the language. The spiritual language is the heart language. And if the governing mind cannot speak the heart language, then it better learn to speak the spiritual language. Because we live in a country called New Zealand that is full of spiritual warriors and those people that recognize the shadow. They've walked through the shadow, and it is very brave to continue to believe that these perspectives of spiritual empowerment are are somehow just going to disappear and be covered up. No. Now is the time for those things to come to the surface. Now is the time for us to begin to take off the mask. And yes, we can wear a physical mask, but are we wearing a spiritual mask? What are the masks that we are wearing amongst ourselves? You know, we have to look at things from all angles and perspectives, because that's what brings the full, complete picture. We can't just focus on a little corner. We have to focus on the entire picture. And for the government to believe that we are not part of that picture is madness and very brave. We are not a big country here in New Zealand. We are a small country, but we are full of people that understand spiritual law. Okay. And we need to arise. We need to face everything and rise. So I'm going to leave it there. Blessings, love, and light. Namaste to you. If you want to enter into the heart magic transmission, then that's the next video after this, and feel free to do that. That just gives you an auditory and image, sound, auditory experience of the download, and can just allow you to put context into some of the things I'm saying, and yeah, enough fun. They are a heart expression that is connected to the spiritual activism that I'm so passionate about. And so yeah, so that's exciting. I just want to say to everyone that listens, that is listening, to, you know, you are listening, but you also need to begin to listen deeply, for the wisdom of the light and the shadow, and for the soul knowledge to come through, because we need to tap into these portals of light that are in us, that have been hidden. Because we've been walking around in an assimilation that has told us that we are everything but. And you are everything but this one thing. Oh, what's that one thing? You know, and so while we're in this season of you know, the cover up, let's say, the cover up, because we're wearing masks, you know, it's now about you know, coming out of the shadows, and recognizing that powerful self that you are, when you are in your balance, and when you are in your passionate vision of what you bring to the navigation of the new world, when you are in your center, and when you have found the ability to respond and to trust, when we surrender to the acceptance of self, and we begin to shed old shadow, old energetic patterns of consciousness and energy that never really belonged to us, but we took them on because we didn't know any better. And now we do. So blessings, love, and light. Namaste.